The world of marketing is changing, and to keep pace with it, you need to create a new point of view that is original, authentic, and engaging. How to go about doing that? Stay tuned to the Marketing Redefined show. Hi, Narinder. Welcome to our show, Marketing Redefined. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting. Thanks a lot.
It's totally fine. We would love to chat with you and understand all that you have to bring to the table. So please tell us something about yourself, first of all.
I have been into the e-commerce industry from pretty long now, almost like 13 years. And before that, I was a part of offline retail. Uh, After getting passed out from NAFT in 2003, so it's almost like 20 years in the industry now. So pretty much into largely into retail. And understood consumer behavior, how the retail has shaped in the last 20 years has given me a lot of insights in terms of how consumer behavior is shaping up for India. So, and besides that, personally, I produce a little bit of music and I follow a couple of spiritual practices to maintain my sanity. So
Wow.
that's it, most of it. Yeah.
That's great because I think so 20 years is a long time and retail has changed a lot from when you
A lot.
started
Yes.
and where you are now. So I think so
Yes.
a lot of work, a lot of struggles, a lot of hard work and here
Yeah.
you are but I'm glad that you mentioned something as unique as producing music or something on the sidelines because it's always work that we're talking about. But sadly coming to the work part, please tell us something about ODN, the brand that you're catering to these days.
So ODN is in a very very interesting space. I use this quite often because when we started off, there were a lot of investments happening in the e-commerce space. I'm talking about 2015 when Snapdeal, Flipkart, Amazon was heating up, and so there were a lot of investments happening in the warehousing space, logistics space, payment gateway space, website creation, or digital marketing space, which is all largely handling the customer experience and uh, on the consumer side. But on the back end side of India, having worked with with so many retail companies in the past, some back of the mind, we knew that there's a massive requirement in terms of support that is needed in India to bring people online, digitizing of content, digitizing of the merchandise, and then bringing them online in the best way possible. And we saw that opportunity, after starting ODN, and we realized that let's focus on just building e-commerce content as a core category service that we can offer to the consumers, to the clients. And what happened is that after lockdown, it has just blown extensively because everybody is trying to go online, and there's a lot of uh, competitiveness right now because of the because of everybody is spending so heavily in the digital space right now. So to beat the competition, now content is taking the center stage eventually. Because if you'll notice that our buying behavior on Amazon has changed dramatically, our buying behavior on Myntra has changed dramatically. There's a lot of infusion of rich content like videos or infographics, and very high end photo shoots are taking place. Social media, Instagram has taken up pretty well. So all in all, in terms of creating digital content, we find ourselves in a very, very sweet position right now. Of course, there are a lot of production companies and creative agencies which are doing wonderful work. But everything that we do comes from the performance perspective of e-commerce. And that's why we call ourselves as e-commerce content experts or shop now content experts, where the speciality in terms of understanding how Amazon algorithm works or Myntra algorithm works, and then try and create content that gets the brand maximum visibility in terms of search. And then when the customer lands up on the product page, what kind of content we can help them convert better is a very different science altogether. So there is creativity, but there's a lot of science behind that creativity that we offer to the clients. So that's what we do essentially as ODM.
No, very rightly said, because I think so. We always say that content is the king and everything, but I think so. The thought and ideology and research really that goes
Yeah.
behind it is something that builds that content. Now, for
Yes.
example, when we were only starting out, for example, we started this podcast itself, and one thing we realized was that, content and conversations are something that is going to build whatever change we want to bring in, and whatever message or whatever, sort of, let's say, change only we want to bring in. So I think so, very rightly said, because even in our field, for example, podcast, everybody thought that it's just going to be an audio space. But when we
Yeah.
pulled out, when we saw things, when we saw YouTube changing it and pulling out a platform for podcast, alag se, we just saw that, video is something that could be amalgamated in it. So it's
Right.
just that
Right.
you need to change with the times coming ahead. And with this idea of yours that you're doing, just wanted to ask a small question, Narinder, that did you feel this shift? Because I heard you saying that you were into retail since many years. Did you feel that tilt when you were shifting to e-commerce and building this brand?
So my last stint was with Snappy. I was heading fashion brands business as AVP fashion there, and uh, I realized that largest of the brands were struggling so badly in terms of going online. The timeline was 1.5 to 2 months to 2.5 months of just going online, which is a very big loss of sales, I would say, because
Yeah.
the merchandise has already hit the offline stores. But in terms of going online, you're still struggling. So by the time you go online, some of the articles are already old and you need to discount. So MRP sales, which is one of the most important metric in retail terminology, MRP sales loss is massive, was massive at that time, and I realized that there's hardly any player or any organized setup who is trying to solve this problem for large brands. And even India's, 40% GDP comes from MSME sector. And if you'll see, 90% uh, listing on Flipkart or Amazon is coming from MSME sector. Now, still today as well, while I speak, even we are not able to solve that kind of a problem at that scale for MSME sector. They are still struggling to go online. Even large brands today, uh, brands that don't work with us, they still struggle. I keep be in touch with few brands. They say we still take 1.5 2 months to go online effectively. So the problem area still exists. We have been able to solve a little bit percentage of the market size, but I think there's a massive scope in terms of improvement here. So
Right.
obviously, I could see that shift while I was there. That this might turn out to be a very large opportunity and a problem area to solve.
Hmm. And I think so. There are brands, for example, I just interviewed one brand who was into these snacks and selling business, which is mainly retail. And
Yeah.
even if you want to change it to e commerce, that takes a bit of time, but retail won't ever go from their
Yes.
DNA or sort of that thing. So I was talking to them and I found out that they are managing them both very well, or like they tried to shift to e-commerce once lockdown happened and COVID disrupted things, but then they understood that retail is the path from which they have to build their way towards e-commerce. So my next question was this only, that you have years of experience on both the sides, and with e-commerce coming out so strong, especially after the COVID scenarios, what do you think, is retail there to sustain, or is it e-commerce that brands should shift
So one correction I want to do: everything is retail. Okay, e-commerce is
to?
also a kind of retail only. It's just that the format is different.
Yeah.
When we say retail, we typically are referring to physical retail, which is like people going out to the malls and all that. I
Yes.
guess looking at India as a culture or as a country, I think we enjoy going outside. So as with families, it's a kind of a fun trip, and a lot of purchases, except for groceries, a lot of purchases are happening on impulse. So when you're out there, you see something and you buy it. A lot of time, electronics are also being bought impulsively. But I guess uh, physical retail will always be a larger chunk, at least for next decade. It is not going to change. US has not been able to change that culture, although e-commerce is is pretty established there. We are still around 10-11% in the US in terms of e-commerce. So I guess in India, it is, we are like, imagine tier three towns, rural areas, they are the still, we love going outside, eating something. So I guess in terms of numbers, India right now, in terms of e-commerce penetration, is hardly at 6.5%. With initiatives of government like ONDC, I can't say if that really takes off. It can we can see a major shift in terms of online sales in India. But still, I think it will take a decade to hit anything more than 20% number here.
Wow. So understood. But at the same time, now I think so. It also is about as simple as something like human psychology, because I've seen people, saying, and even brands founders telling me that, it's always that they want to touch the product and then feel it. And then,
Yes,
that side of retail is never going to go, I think so. But
yes, yes, yes,
talking about these things also now, years of valor, years of success, years of hard work, struggle must be something that is part of it. Now, I think so. These struggles are going to interest my viewers and audience because they are going to understand from it and learn from it tons. So there must be experiences of a time or some example that I just have must have reminded you that you feel was a proper struggle and now you've come out of it strong and standing here.
yeah. Of course, every day you face so many challenges in a dynamic environment. All this, and it is even more difficult for us because we don't have anybody to like kind of look up to as an organization. Uh, Everything that we have been able to create is something which is very new. E-commerce industry is very new, right? So all the startups in e-commerce are finding their own, ways of, finding success. Be it, even if it is a logistic company, there are so many challenges. The industry is very new for all of us. And in content space, the closest learning point that we had was advertising agency. But then the DNA doesn't match. The digital is all about quick turnarounds and stuff like that. So a lot of challenges, of course. Challenges come in the form of clients only most of the times for us. That they come up with crazy requests, they come up with unrealistic requests, which become very realistic once we start acting on it. And there are a lot of brainstorming that happen, that how, so we don't say no a lot of times. We love challenges, so we will take up a challenge, and we would like to thrash it out, point by point, and then ensure that we deliver what we have committed. I guess in terms of learnings from the challenges that you're talking about, uh, the biggest hurdle was, of course, the lockdown that happened a couple of years back, and nobody knew what to do. A lot of companies that I knew in digital space, although digital everybody knew that might pick up after lockdowns, but a lot of people, uh, I know people could not anticipate what is going to happen, and there was a lot of uncertainty in the environment. But we went completely opposite. We said that let's take a hunch. If the company is going to shut down, it is going to shut down anyways, right? Because you remember that lockdown. Nobody knew what is going to happen after a week, whether we'll be alive also or not. So, so, so at that time, it was a very crazy couple of months where we took such crazy decisions that we were doing hyper marketing in that time. We were getting ready that once the lockdown gets over, which
Mm.
we thought, let's place our faith in optimism that the lockdowns will get over. So we started doing, because the resources were free, there was no work. We started doing
Yeah.
free of cost work for the clients, for the clients that we already had. We started making graphics, social media posts for them, supporting them. That okay, for the related to the environment, lockdowns related. Yeah. So these kind of things, we started designing those assets, we started giving them those assets. We were investing ourselves and building up relationships in very extensive marketing, because people were at least online at that time. That was a good thing, that at least in the social media space, people were active. And I believe, when I look back, it has paid off so well, that we took that decision of, we didn't fire a single person in the company. We took a
Wow.
complete hit for a few months, and we have recovered so well after that, because then, the kind of love and commitment people have today, people who stayed back at that time with us, is I think it was a little crazy. If you remember that time, that people were not going aggressive, we were going all aggressive, and it has happened multiple times. I think, deep down, I would say, you need to have larger faith in the process. That if something has reached out to you, you just need to give your best, and I think, don't worry after. But ensure that you give your best, and maybe more than that. So I think it has happened so many times. There have been so many cash flow issues. There have been so many negative months that have, put us, like, questioning that whether we should continue or not. Earlier times, a lot of things happened. Like, early 3 years was really crazy when we were experimenting a lot. Now, I think I would say we are pretty settled in terms of what we offer, what we want to offer. There's a very good name in the market, reputation in the market now. People look up to us in terms of, as thought leaders in the content space, at least in the e-commerce space. Uh, and I think, we still face challenges as an EM. We still face challenges every day in the form of new projects, new things that we have never attempted before, but we enjoy. Right? I think.
I think so.
I
That's the
think.
life of a founder and entrepreneur,
Yeah.
really. It's just, you can't describe it any other way because
There's no
while I'm
good.
hearing your story, that reminds me that, that 3 or 4 months of craziness that you went through actually paved way for now for you
Yes.
guys to have a simpler life. No, not so simple for any entrepreneur, really, but still. And the fact that you used COVID so nicely to your own advantage was something
Yeah.
great because I heard stories that, people started their brands while they were, sitting at home and some became influencers, some started their own company, products they're making. But to sustain that and come out of that period of already people are so depressed and losing hope
Yes.
is something that is actually commendable because many people started things, but now where they're going is something else. For you to actually prosper from it is a great inspiration for all of us. I think so. And
One promise, as a
hmm,
promise statement that ODN has, is that anybody who gets in touch with ODN should have a great experience, whether it's a client or an employee or an internee or any consultant or anybody else. I think this is a core value that we really work on. And there's a promise department as well, which is led by a couple of team leaders, which keep on changing. So they work
wow.
on ODN promise regularly. So yeah. So
That's great. That's actually boosting confidence of the people that are working with
yes,
you, clients that are
yes.
working with you. And I think so. This interview itself has now become music to everybody's ears. Great. But coming to that only, I think so. Odin has made some great relationship over the years and since it has started out. And the fact that you did not lay off a single person from your team is something that shows integrity from your team to these clients and all other prospect clients. So coming to that only, I think so you have some great consumer brands under your belt, and I think so a lot of experience working with big, small, all kinds of brands. So coming to
Mhm.
that only now, some of these brands have really great marketing campaigns. So talking about these, do you think that digitization somewhere or the other is a part of it? Is part of that planning and campaign itself because of the need of the times that we're living in?
So a lot of brands, global brands have stopped uh, spending on TV ads or newspaper ads now. Everybody is shifting. There's a major shift in digital ads, and it is not purely for e-commerce. A lot of it is happening for branding as well. For example, YouTube ads and the ads that we see on popular cricket websites or on even on Insta ads. So there's digital spends have crossed TV spends, ad spends in this year
Yeah.
in India. So it's touching about 50,000 crores just in India. So you can imagine where the shift is happening and where brands want to spend money now.
Hmm.
Because the biggest value that digital ads or digitization bring is the control on the numbers. There's immense scope of analyzing where did the money go, and what did you get out of that, so that you can optimize it next time and you can learn from the data. So, which TV ads or newspaper ads do not give you that kind of impact. And I think all the CEOs of the larger brands, CMOs of larger brands, are answerable for the money that they're spending eventually. Right? So, once they spend money, they need control on that data, and that digital is doing very effectively. Because the kind of course, even even today, there about 400 million people are only online. But I think they are the ones who are shoppers also. People who
Yeah.
are majority of the shopping is happening within that circuit only. Because rest of them are either dependents or either children in our country or villagers who are not very active in uh, spending too much. So from the retail perspective, I think almost if you look at the spending ratio of that cohort that I'm talking about, I think it will be we are covering almost a majority of the people there. So makes a lot of sense that to build brands or to spend money to that shopping cohort. So that way, digital, I believe, besides of course data and all that, there's a massive reach that we're talking about. A newspaper can cover only a certain number of people, and it's very expensive also. Uh, and but digital can reach to every household. Everybody has a smartphone today. So from the reach point of view, from the branding standpoint, from sales standpoint, everything is making a lot of sense going digital.
Yeah, I think so. Everything becoming so accessible in itself is another reason, because even if you look at
Yes.
newspapers, they have become digital. They have a branch of themselves having a digital newspaper and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Now, when you were talking about this shift from normal ads, television ads, to something which is digital marketing and budgets and campaigns being made for that, that suddenly reminded me that I was having this same conversation with my founder in one of the episodes as well, was that these big brands used to have these big budgets and campaigns for TV ads. I remember these Happy Dent ads and these
Yeah.
luxury car brand ads. Everything, the budgets were huge and they were spending so
Yes.
much, and they were actually getting a lot out of it. But now that this shift is happening, where do you think, because you talked about budget, I just wanted to understand, where do you think these budgets are being made, and how they're being made, and how they're being really analyzed, that what is being spent on what?
So a lot of impact that we are seeing in metro is also in terms of reduction in TV ads is also because of OTTs as well. A lot of audience is moving to Netflix and Prime
True.
to watch their content, but still the advertisements are happening there, but not at that scale where TV ads were happening. So that is the one major shift that is happening in terms of spends as well. There are sponsorships that are happening at OTTs as well. So that is one, of course. Second, as I mentioned, digital. There's a very large shift in digital that is happening in terms of shift in terms of marketing. I guess there's from the branding perspective. If I talk in the marketing space, from the brand loyalty, we are seeing a major shift that is happening to the product marketing or product loyalty. So you would love to wear Nike sneakers, but you might be wearing an Adidas top as well. So which was not the space maybe 10 years back or maybe 7 8 years back. If I love Nike, I would love to. I'm a loyal of Nike. There was a kind of conflict of interest if I wear Adidas, but uh, what I'm trying to say is that people are product loyal these days instead of brand loyal. So I think brands need
True.
to understand this major shift that is happening, and it is happening because of internet, I guess, because of the content that the pages we follow on Instagram. There's too much of uh, there are too many new products that are being introduced. Influencer marketing is another very big, very major shift that is happening, which is influencing the shopping in India. So one influencer that I
True.
follow is promoting a certain product of Adidas. Not Adidas. They're not talking about Adidas at all. They're talking about a product of Adidas, which I want, which I look and I think it's a wonderful product. I want to buy. Now tomorrow I see something that Nike has done an
Mm.
ad of a new sneakers. So I want to buy that. So I'm buying because of uh, a certain feature of a product or a price of a product or a value proposition of a product is sounding very lucrative to me, and I'm buying that because of that. I'm not buying because it's a Nike product. I'm buying a Dimension, which is a D2C brand. I'm buying a product of that also because I want to try out new things. I don't want to be like stuck to one single brand, for my entire life. And I guess this whole shift is something where we are working very closely with brands. Where, for example, we have a client called Chayas, right? So whenever they launch a product,
Mm.
we do a complete storytelling around the product line. So we just don't do the photo shoots and we don't do small videos and we create Amazon content, or we create some random social media post and give them content. So we create a storyline around all the multiple channels that are there for a brand. For example, marketplaces is there, brand website is there, and then social media, which are the so these are the large three touch points for the customers to understand the product or the brand. So when we create content these days, we are saying that let's create it in a emotional manner. Let's connect with the customer at a product level, at an emotional level, instead of emotions are mostly brands keep the emotional connect at a brand marketing level, and product
Yeah.
marketing at a product marketing level that is not getting transferred. So if you'll see a YouTube ad which is talking about a brand, and you will open a product page of
Mm.
that brand on Amazon, it is not at all connected. So I think that's where a very major disconnect is there, that we are trying to educate brands that the loyalties have shifted to products and not to the brands, and we need to create the take influences from brand marketing, uh, larger piece, and start feeding it at a broad marketing level as well. And I think a lot of brands are understanding it as well.
Mm.
Right from brands like Sugar Free or Chayas or Marks and Spencers, Benetton, whatever brands that we work with. Everybody is understanding this because when we present that with a lot of understanding of consumers and data, and I think uh, that is what people are understanding now.
Right.
Other major shifts that I mentioned, one is of course OTT. I mentioned influencer marketing is another,
Mm.
digital performance is another, uh, and I guess metaverse and tools like AR.
Yeah.
AR might come much earlier than Meta. I would say in terms of shopping, in terms of marketing as well, because AR can assist shopping. VR
Mm.
cannot assist shopping as of now.
True.
AR in terms of digitization, Amazon India is already experimenting on a couple of categories. If you have an app, Amazon app, you can see few articles in your room, place them, and then buy. So brands are waking up to this as well in terms of spends, in terms of giving a more experiential shopping environment to the customers. That is also another form of marketing where shift is happening in terms of new age ways of marketing the products. In terms of otherwise, in terms of people are experimenting with, of course, meta stores as well, where they Tanishq, launched the meta store some
Yeah.
time back. But is it really effective from performance standpoint? Maybe not. But I think being there, understanding the environment of meta will take some time, and I think it's very wise to go be an early adopter. So people are
Mm.
experimenting there as well. Uh, if you'll ask me where we are heading in terms of marketing, uh, I see that brands are waking up to the idea that the marketing in terms of reaching out to customers with a core value proposition
Hmm.
uh, is now being shifted to the value proposition that they bring on almost like daily basis. You have to be you have to be relevant every day to the client today, and that is becoming extremely challenging for the brands, and they're trying to crack it with social media, with influencers, with YouTube ads. They're trying to throw too much content. If you will see,
Hmm.
uh, if you follow any single brand, they're trying to do everything to at least uh, mm, ensure that you see them once a day at least. So I guess that staying relevant in today's time of extreme clutter that is happening because of digital space is where I think marketers are spending a lot of time how to crack that, and I think there will be a lot of shift that we will see in terms of spends that will happen to stand out. I would say, yeah.
No, and I think so that when we see at the tilt that I was talking about in this digitization, and the fact that you mentioned these D2C brands, was that people are spending their time and efforts into marketing their product, building their brand image and ideology and what they really stand for. But at the same time, now, I think so, lockdown or not, or whatever influenced this, but nowadays we'll see so many brands that are just maybe either using one form of marketing, let's say social media marketing, to really pull out their brand. And I would just see tons of brand only on Instagram and doing their marketing on Instagram itself and trying to sell something. Now, do you think, Narinder, that these brands, which are yet small in size, could directly or indirectly, inversely affect brands like which are OG brands, like Adidas or Nike, as you mentioned? Could they really affect them?
In If you just talk about online space, maybe it is possible. But I think with the larger popular brands, I think their core strength is the distribution network in the offline space that they have.
Right.
Not even, I would say, their own exclusive stores in the malls are also there. But I think all of them, if you talk about Adidas or Van Heusen, they are decade old, multiple decades old brands, and they're very, very, very deeply rooted in the distribution network. And they are available on almost every store and uh, apparel store in every city. So with this kind of distribution, maybe not in terms of revenue they can't beat it, but I think at least in digital space, they are facing the heat for sure. The D2C brands, only because of the only because of the kind of I would again say you would say that I keep talking about content, but yeah, only because of Mama Earth, what Mama Earth could do, or Wow Skincare could do, or
Hmm.
very recently we saw Snitch in Shark Tank, which is our client.
Yeah.
So these kind of brands, which are like new age D2C brands, they are riding very heavy on content. And
Hmm.
you see, either you have patience and you build the brand on the basis of product quality. You sell years, same quality, same story. But if you want to become an overnight star, you need to create drama. So I think you know,
True.
so with the help of drama, with the help of crazy content feeding and heavy influencer marketing, uh, I think you suddenly consumers start suddenly to feel that this brand is very confident of themselves. They must be doing something right. Let's try this, and that's how the
Hmm.
cycle of popularity begins. Uh, and
Yeah,
I
because
guess
otherwise you're just getting lost in
yes,
the bheed of sort of so many brands out there.
yes, yes.
So
But this is also something that the larger brands need to, at least in the digital space, they need to understand that what D2C brands are trying to do is to break
mm,
the monotony. They are doing everything to catch the attention of the customers. And I think
true.
if a large brand thinks that they are 2,000 crore brand, they don't need, everybody knows about us. We don't need to do heavy content in terms of making ourselves top of the mind. I think they're wrong. In digital space, top of the mind is what is what you see today. Because I'm going to buy something today. So I have
Hmm.
to, I don't know which day I'll buy your product or buy your product category. So, staying relevant is extremely, extremely critical. You have to throw content every day. You have to
True.
keep updated, keep the customer updated about new launches, new features, new products. So staying relevant, as I mentioned earlier, is extremely important. Yeah.
True. And we to already say that, content and consistency is something that have to go together. Otherwise,
Yes.
there won't be a time that people will remember you and, will try to go back to it, because retention is very important, because again, it's again about human psychology, because we also say that, for example, our service itself is a top of the funnel service right now. And to retain that attention and to retain those eyes on us, ears on us in our case, is very important, and that happens through us pushing out content consistently. So I think so, very rightly said. And talking about this only, my next question was that, with all these conversation that we covered, with saying that there is a tilt that is happening towards digitization and
Mhm.
e-commerce websites and everything. So where do you see this industry really going? What trends do you see changing or coming in now in the coming years?
I think partly I have already answered that how the marketing is making a shift. But
Hmm.
I guess e-commerce has taken, uh, you know, a very important stage. A very important factor is like performance, as I mentioned earlier. That the return is going to come from e-commerce. Everything that you spend on digital, you know, the return of that money is going to be, you can recover that only from e-commerce. Most of it. Because that's a true measurement of your success of that ad that uh, on which you spend crores of
Hmm.
rupees. So e-commerce, a lot of brands are taking it very seriously now, thankfully. Uh, and in terms of, I think overall, I think in entirety, if I have to mention, I guess customer is extremely aware and informed about what is happening, and marketers need to do a lot more research, a lot more data analysis, a lot more tech-enabled, personalized, and programmatic ads. So I don't know whether you understand programmatic or not, but programmatic is something that uh, is helping brands to reach to a much finer audience through the help of technology, and then they can personalize it also. So you might get tomorrow you might get an ad which is like just personalized for you because of your buying behavior or consumer or your shopping behavior or your website visits behavior or whatever.
Right.
So there's a lot of science that is happening in the back end. A lot of tools are coming in terms of helping marketers to reach out to the audience in the finest way. But I think before that, as I mentioned, data analysis and understanding the consumer behavior is extremely important. And that's where a lot of money and time is going today in digital marketing space. It is not anymore that you make an ad and just put it up on the Facebook and the return will come. The cost of acquisition is extremely high in today's environment, as well as there's very the ROAS is very low in today's time. So uh, context in marketing is also being discussed, is also being challenged. That people are realizing that what we start communicating at the first top of the funnel, which is like say a digital ad, a video ad that you see. When I see that ad and when I end my journey on a e-commerce page, there's a lot of context loss. That, for example, I saw an ad where you sold, moon and stars to the customer, and when I click on that ad, I land to the website, where some other team, altogether has designed the creatives or they're talking in some other language. Now you click on that, most of the audience is lost there itself. That there's
True.
no connect. What I want to see is not there. And when I click on that banner or landing page, I land on a product page. There's all like a couple of images and incomplete information about the product. So this context in the marketing is also being challenged in terms of conversion, improving conversion and all. In terms of in terms of uh, conversions, as you asked, in terms of trends that where the sales are going to happen, I think we have found as an industry we are pretty settled. A lot of, like 4 or 5 years back, there was a lot of movement in terms of best practices, right practices. But I think as an industry, we are pretty much established. But apparently, government of India, which I think is a correct way to look at uh, the whole e-commerce space, is that they want to decentralize the e-commerce industry now, with a lot of multiple policies at a national level, with something like OSEN, they have launched for the lending industry. Double A, they launched last year again, from the lending, for the lending industry again, micro lending. Uh, they are talking about national logistic scheme, or a policy NLP, which they launched earlier this year, where they want to digitize all the trucks and the logistics of the country, to give us more efficient and low cost movement of goods. And then they last year they announced ONDC as well, which is focused just on e-commerce. When you put together all of these schemes or policies together, there's a very clear hint that government is giving that they want to digitize everything in the country. With this kind of motivation, this kind of support that government is creating, uh, I guess the plans of ONDC is crazy. They are talking about 75% e-commerce penetration in the country. They're talking about bringing 30 million MSME people online, which is like very, very, very large number. But I guess we work very closely with ONDC, by the way, and uh, ONDC is also one of our clients now, and we are working on various policy level, or not policy level, but framework level structures we are providing, helping them to create taxonomies and uh, other category level work. So while working very closely with ONDC, uh, it is too early, but I think in a couple of years, if this gets established really well, I think it will change the whole. Uh, it will change. It will change how e-commerce operates across the globe, not just in India. It is they are actually decentralizing everything. That if you are good in doing logistics, uh, so for example, I'll give you. You have time? Can I take the floor?
Yeah, yeah, please.
So what happens is, take an example of Amazon, for example. Today I love buying on Amazon because of the service that they give to me, and same with Flipkart also. That the kind of whatever I want to buy is available there, and then it's followed by a great service. What ONDC is trying to do is to decentralize that. That okay, you're a great seller. Okay, so you can come as an independent uh, entity on ONDC platform. You're a great marketeer. You can come as an independent guy. You're a great logistic company. You can come as an independent guy. So Amazon, in if you break down Amazon's department, it will be like largely 7 to 8 departments. And ONDC is saying that okay, you are great in any of the departments, so the person the company will perform better. Of course, they will have ratings and audit system in place. So you can, as independent companies, come on the ONDC platform and interact with each other to deliver a great product to the customer at the end. This is what ONDC is trying to do, which is very, very new, and they want to break down the
Yeah.
whole control that is there with a couple of companies in the country. So India has apparently huge problems with sharing revenues outside India. So, apparently,
True.
I don't know, because they very recently started saying that a few countries are accepting should accept Indian currency as a exchange currency as well. They have recently launched an operating system as well, which is a competition to iOS and Android OS, which is designed by IIT Delhi, which is
Wow.
called uh, Bharos. So all in all, everything, government is very clear that digitization is the key. And with this kind of motivation, we don't know. I can't predict where the trend is going to be, because it's going to be crazy if it's going to change everything the way we operate in digital space today.
True. It is exciting and scary at the same time that,
Yes,
it's all is changing so rapidly.
yes,
And with this sort of digitization that we are looking at, I think so you're very rightly saying that anything can happen now.
yeah.
But some great insights, Narinder. And sadly coming to an end, and the last question. Now, I already can see that you have some pretty good experience and insights. So, that one question that may sound very simple, but at the same time is the key to a lot of problems and building your brand, is that what are the really essentials of building a proper digital marketing campaign?
So one thing that I tell to my partner brands always, that a lot of times we get lost in the idea that we are offering a great thing to the product, to the consumers, which is a very wrong way to market yourself. Uh, I think very important is to understand what consumers are searching for these days, and then match whether you have the right product or not. Because in our head, because we are so involved in the product, or what we are offering as a solution to the customers, we think this is the best thing that can happen to us, and we start marketing ourselves that. But I think that's why I keep telling that there's a lot of data analysis that we need to do. We need to understand our customer. We need to speak to our customer a lot.
True.
These basics never change, okay, and they will never change. These are the most basic essentials of the marketing, and that you listen to the customer always. If you're a brand, I read somewhere Dipinder from Zomato, once in 3 months he goes and deliver himself as a Zomato guy, delivery guy. So so as a brand owner, or as a D2C owner, or a small brand, if you're starting up, I think we should listen to what customers are saying and constantly keep improving. And I think you need to talk that language out to build a connect with the audience. That what is the language that they want to hear? How can we create an emotional connect? How can we transfer that value proposition that is very essential for them to buy the product? So I think these are the basic essentials that I keep telling uh, brands. But otherwise, I think a lot of evolution has happened in India in terms of digital marketing or overall marketing as well. Indian agencies are winning, Cannes Lion Awards. We have Chutney from
Yeah.
India. They won, maximum number of awards this year. So I think
Hmm.
we understand branding, marketing really well as an industry. What is like basic essentials is I think I already shared. What we need to keep an eye on is that whether we are relevant all the time with the customers or not, whether we are seen enough with along with the customers or not. And in the end, it is all about whether your customer is happy or not with your products, with your service. So
True.
so this is marketing. I think the best marketing that can happen is whether your customer is happy or not in the end.
That feedback
So yes,
is
yes,
very
yes,
essential.
extremely, extremely important.
Yeah,
Yes,
especially if you're starting out, I think so. The feedback is something that gives you a lot. I mean, it
yes,
can sometimes derail you as well, but I think so. At the end of the day, majority comes from the feedback that you're getting.
yes,
So
yes,
I think so.
yes,
Very,
yes.
very right advice. And with this, I have already filled my diaries, and I guess people will also be doing that with a lot of insights that you gave. But thank you so much, Narinder, for coming on the show and chatting with us. It was great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Muskan. Thanks for inviting. It was wonderful chatting with you. So yeah, have a great day ahead.